Welcome to another episode of Primo Talks. When it comes to life, you got to have those people around you who have those gifts and talents like you have in order for you to implement those things, so you know that the things that you're doing is moving you towards those goals, those dreams, those realities that you saw in your life. This is not the time for you to take a step back. It's a time for you to be teleported. This is a place where you can actually get the information that you need that you can implement today. Let's talk. Welcome back to another edition of CFS Show. Today I want to talk about a major topic. It's breaking news for me, maybe not for you. We are officially in a recession. That's right, I'm going to call it. We now live in a time where most people don't want to actually tell you what's going on. But that's not me. So I'm going to just tell you, the U.S. is officially in a recession. Now, later on this week, the Fed's going to come out and they're going to talk about what they're going to do with interest rates. The problem is, there's nothing they can really do to stop this. The U.S. already had one quarter, the first quarter of the year, which was down, the GDP. This is the second quarter, which is also down. I'm going to talk about today a couple of things that you need to keep in mind whenever you're in a recession. But let me just explain to you the power of a recession. The last recession that we had was in 2008. During that recession, we had two consecutive lower GDP report terms, where actually GDP lowered in two consecutive quarters. These are three companies that came out of that: Slack, Airbnb, and Airbnb, Slack, and Uber. They were ones who came out of that situation, which meant that, think about going to a forest, okay, a rainforest. And as you're walking through the rainforest, it's very dark at the bottom. The tall trees have grown up, and when those trees have grown up, they have, not only they get all the sunlight, they also get all the water. The small trees on the underground are still very moist, and they're full of water, but they're very moist. Now, think about the tall trees now being big banks. In every local town or city you go to, you see big banks, small houses. Again, you see big bank, those tall trees in the forest, and then you have small houses, the new undergrowth. Okay, here's my concern. Most of Americans are small houses, and the big banks are still the big banks. The last big bank, when we went through the last situation, was the mortgage crisis. Was Morgan Stanley was bought out by Bank of America. We saw the situation when it came to Lehman Brothers failing, and what ended up happening was Lehman Brothers assets got bought out, and we now see ourselves in a situation. Now, Chase Manhattan actually, they was the one who bought the Lehman Brothers debt. Jamie, the CEO, kind of acquired that at pennies on the dollar, so of Chase. But let's just think of that for a second, okay? Let's just look at this. Let's look at the benefits of a recession for you and me. One, there's one thing that happens every 5 to 10 years that is a blessing to a forest. That's a natural fire. Every 5 to 10 years, when a natural fire takes place, it burns down those big banks, well, the big trees, and the small undergrowth. What happens when that takes place? The land is burnt. When the land is burnt, it creates nourishment. One, there's not going to be no fire in the next 5 to 10 years because the ground is not going to reunite when it happens because of the sulfatic reaction, and now you get this fresh fertilizer. Because again, and what happens from that fresh fertilizer? Everybody has a chance to grow. So if you haven't started a business, this recession is going to be the best thing for you. It is the backbone of your success. How come? Because the tall trees going to get wiped out. They're going to be wiped out. Second, the water level, what you need, the manpower. The last time you had people with masters and PhDs taking jobs that were $18 and $19. So you get access to equal talent. That's the benefit. So if you haven't started your business, this is going to be the best time. So you want to basically take this notes. Let's jump right into it. The U.S. is entering a recession. We're in one, guys. You can sit back. You can argue about it. You can say, well, maybe the next. No. 2 consecutive quarters of low GDP growth, that's considered a recession. I'm not saying we're in a depression, by no means, but we're in a recession. You can actually see it now. Look at what's going on in the economy. If you look at the Wall Street Journal, if you grab any type of resource, CNBC, AOL, YouTube, Google, you look right now, the market is actually showing that when it comes to stocks. You see them, they're all actually doing some pullback, what a lot of times we like to call capitulation. Now, how come that's important? Because we're about to have a financial conversation. Now, again, this financial conversation is my subjective view, but my subjective view may be irrelevant for you, but I am telling you that if you look closely on what I'm going to talk about, you most likely will see as a regular consumer yourself what I meant. The U.S. is officially in a recession. Here are some things we need to keep in mind. Things to keep in mind is this: political uncertainty, the midterms. That's midterms. Whenever there's a recession looming, which we're in one right now, it's around midterms, okay? Second, this is something that's unique: the Ukraine war. Now, the United States government has not officially, through an act of Congress, stated that we're in war with Russia. However, they're playing the thing that the U.S. has always done, which means they're playing both sides. They're playing both sides. How? They're funding Ukraine and buying Russian oil. I mean, you can't make even no crazier story than that. They're funding Ukraine and buying Russian oil. So they're playing both sides of this. Two, inflation. The inflation is real, and it has nothing to do with the midterms or Ukraine war. The last time we seen this crazy inflation, this one is even worse than Carter's administration, is the inflation that we're now facing. I just went into the store recently this past weekend, and I had a chance to buy some avocados and some mangoes. Avocado prices are ridiculous. In Canada, they're very expensive. In the U.S., everything went up. So I saw mangoes, which normally were 28 cents cheaper, they're 28 cents more. Avocados at one point were like between 86 cents to about 98 cents. Now they're over $1 and some cent. So everything is costing more. We could not just see it in the food category. We can see it in gas prices. This is really going to affect the small house people, or even the ones who don't have small houses. That got small rooms. That's what we call people who rent. Now, here's another thing that's going to take place in recession. Fake success is about to be called out, guys. That's right. See, doing this from 2019 going into COVID, there was a lot of people who had fake success. One of those guys was Dan Locke. Now, I don't know him personally. I'm not trying to be mean to Dan Locke at all. But what I am saying is because I live and I have family that live in Canada. Dan Locke was all over the paper in Canada because he stated he had this big mansion. In reality, he was renting that because his fake success got called out. And in the process of that, he's a big ticket item guy. So big ticket. But he's not necessarily an entrepreneur from a standpoint which meets GDP. I don't think Dan Locke has ever filled out a GDP report. I could be wrong. I mean, Dan, if I'm wrong, don't mind calling me out. Hit the comment section. If you know that Dan Locke fills out a GDP report and he has a business, not self-employed, but he has a business where he has several employees and he fills out a GDP report for Canada, please mention it in the comment section. I like to stand corrected. Teleportation is correction. So correct me, I'm get teleported. That way I don't have to say the same thing twice, get called out twice, just once because I got corrected. But I'm pretty sure this gentleman, because of COVID, showed the fact that he wasn't really making money like that. Like, he's making money, but the money he was making was on fake success, which meant he had the knowledge. Now, what is knowledge? The accumulation of truths. But he didn't have wisdom. What's wisdom? The skill. It's applying these truths in whatever market condition it is and still being able to be operational. It shows that he lost the big rental property he had. He hadn't paid the rent. I mean, he owes a lot of money to people. That's Dan Locke. I'm just saying, just pointing out the truth. Fake success is about to be called out. And a lot of people are going to be called out because coming out of COVID with the pumping up that took place in this country is going to affect a lot of people about to be called out. Here's the other thing. Small businesses have not overcome COVID and will now face more challenging. That's my major concern. That's the reason I wanted to call it. If you're a small business if you're getting ready to start a business, this is the best time for you. But if you was a business already in, you may be in a situation that you don't want nobody to know about because you still haven't overcome the challenges of COVID. So it is now time to be able to look for that talent you couldn't afford. I'm telling you now, in every recession, people who have a set of skills, who work within a system, who we like to call middle class or upper middle class, maintain the system, they're available for you. Go ahead and grab those skills. Go ahead and bring them into your company. This could be the time, because if you don't grab that talent into your company now, because they are now going to be affordable in these coming weeks, because we are now in a recession, you're going to wish you took this advice. Now, if you didn't start a business, this is the best time because all the tall trees and the big banks are going to get messed up. I can't wait to figure out which bank's about to collapse, because they are going to collapse, just so you know that. They always do during a recession. And like I said, the last one was, Morgan Stanley got bought out by Bank of America. They acquired them. Chase, what did Chase do? JP Morgan, I'm sorry. JP Morgan Chase, that's really what they call JP Morgan Chase. Jamie, the CEO, acquired Lehman Brothers assets in a fire sale, bought them for pennies on the dollar, but Lehman Brothers went up belly up. Which bank is now going to have that same situation? Because we're looking at some of the same thing with housing at the same time with banks that took place in the 2008 mortgage crisis. I'm just telling you guys, this may be the dot-com bubble part 2, like 2 times as worse. Remember in 2000 we had the dot-com bubble. Then in 2008 we had the mortgage crisis. This may be a combination of them both, and that's the reason that this recession may be even worse than what we've seen in 2000 and 2008. But most importantly, the economic expansion after 2020 COVID, when they opened it back up, was pumped up and it wasn't real. You have to remember that a lot of money was given, and it's still being given today by the government, the House and the Senate, and the presidents are taking this money that has not, first of all, they haven't even figured out who's going to pay for it. We don't know if it's the next two. I don't know if it's my kids or my great-grandkids or 2 or 4 generations from now going to enter this bill, because they have printed more money during COVID than the United States has printed in its entire existence. So you have to understand that's what's causing inflation. And they keep printing money. They keep giving money to Ukraine. They're not going to solve the issues at home. Do not expect any politician, whether they're in your local state or they're in the federal government, to solve a problem that they created. They just know how to do that. They know how to create problems, but they don't know how to solve them. Because if you ask them to solve them, you got to look to the free market to solve problems. Because you can't take a person who maintains a system who gets a paycheck and ask them to solve a problem unless their paycheck is cut off from them. Then they start thinking. Until then, they don't really have to solve anything. They're getting paid anyway on the city dollars, the state dollars, or the federal dollars. They get paid. They can care less. As long as they get their paycheck, it's not a big issue, because they're drawing into income. They don't make no money. With that being said, is the economic expansion that took place in 2020. They gave so much money to companies that should have failed. They pumped them up. They kept them support. But we're now coming in a recession. You heard it first. Don't say I didn't tell you. You heard it first. On the next episode, if you have never liked or subscribed, but in our next episode, we're going to go over the top 10 market crashes that have taken place. And we're going to do 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, and then we do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to do this over the next 2 episodes. But the reason for that is so you can actually see, after the recession started, how long did the economic expansion take place? Because I want to make sure that, yes, not only do I tell you we're in a recession, not only do I tell you things to keep in mind, let me tell you how to navigate through this. Or even if I don't tell you how I'm going to navigate through it, just figure out by following me or follow someone else who's know how to navigate. One of the cool things that I would tell people is this. You have to know how to navigate situations that you're not skilled for by pulling into people who have already been through certain things. That is the key. Do not look to a family member or friend to have a dialogue about the recession, what you're going to do. You want to look to somebody who's in business who's actually going to navigate it. You want to stay away from all the fake success out there. I'm going to tell you that right now. They're about to be called out. Now, recently, Elon Musk mentioned that he's going to be laying off all the employees. Let me tell you one of the other things that took place. Fake success is not just like Dan Locke, who ran into a situation because COVID showed that he was not handling money right. But Elon Musk pointed out this is what recession do. It makes companies tougher. Right now we have a lot of companies that are basically being, what is he? We call it wuzzies. That's what is he, or what is her, or was her, or was he. What is that? That's a company or a person who is not being direct about how their company operate, so they're being passive. Due to COVID, everybody had to stay at home. But I'm going to tell you now, there's going to be a lot of layoffs, you know, right? Because this recession is going to make businesses who used to be called wuzzies, what is he or what is her, tough. They're going to start laying people off, saying I'm not doing it. And Elon Musk was the first one to mention, oh, you want to stay at home and work 40 hours? You either come down here to Texas and work, or you're fired. More CEOs going to start laying people off during this recession than you think. How come? Because a lot of these people who are basically saying that I don't have to do this, I'm worth more money. That's fake success. See, COVID caused them to believe in their mind that they can actually just work from home, do a little bit of work, It's okay. You know, you're successful, you're making six figures, you're about to be fired. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Because companies about to button down. They about to get the best talent at discounted rates. And it may be you if you're watching this video. And I'm just warning you, because this you need to keep in mind of, because some of this fake success is not just self-employed, it's not just infopreneurs, it's not just what they call click funnel people. That's fake. A lot of them are fake success. But more importantly, it's those people who have degrees, who rose up during COVID, who get no six figures, and we're about to have, remember, some of those big trees are individuals with PhDs and master's degrees, and there's a natural fire that's coming. And what is a natural fire in our economy? It's called the recession. I can't wait to go into more detail later this week. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Get yourself one of our merch. There's a beautiful hat that I'm going to be wearing in the next video, because I'm going to go over the top 10 market crashes over 2 different episodes. But the reason that's important, because we want to see what took place in the recession, how long that recession took place before it leveled out and we got back to normal, and then when the next recession started. But more than that, you got to be clear to handle the chaos. So we got this cool merch that says clarity over chaos. I'll be rocking it the next video. Make sure you rock it too. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you'll be updated on all the latest content that comes from out of CFS Studios, because we're going to dive in deep. And I just wanted to say that you heard it first. We called the recession. See you next time.